Hi there, Steph. Thanks for popping by. So today I created this video to share with you how I made this homemade advent calendar. I bought a lot of Legos for my son, and they're not branded Legos, but quite a lot of them. And I wanted to, instead of giving him all the Legos at once, I thought it would be nice to give it to him, a little bit at the time. And I like the concept of the advent calendar, and we do like chocolate quite a lot. So I thought it would be nice to do our own advent calendar. Of course, I did it myself because he's far too young to do that. But I basically started by using some Strathmore Bristol smooth watercolor paper, and I did some ink blending, and it's very rough ink blending because I was going to put water droplets and then cut off the numbers and stuff, so I didn't faff too much. Then once I die cut the numbers, I did use the MFT. I don't know the exact name of the die set, but number dies, and they're really good. They cut really well. And then I added a little bit of distress ink on the edges of the letters as well, as the circle that I use as a background for the milk carton, because I thought it added a little bit of something. And then as I went, a bit further into the project, I realized that it wasn't quite as much contrast and depth as I wanted. So I did some black distress ink, not too much, just on the edges, and I think it works better actually. It pops a little bit better. And I quite like a bit of contrast as well. So here you can see me it's a really long video. It's the longest video I've ever made, so I had to jump things quite a lot, but just I try to show you two or three example when I at best to show you what I've done really, but without it becoming a bit too boring. So once I'm done with all the circles and all the numbers, I prepared everything on my mat, and then I start gluing. I glued at random, really, it didn't really matter. I just wanted to make sure I didn't get it wrong, because I put the 6 is also the 9, but you just have to put it upside down. And as there's one where I put a 21 instead of 12, so I had two 21, so I had to do them again. So it's quite nice to put everything flat on the board, and then you can, see that you have everything right. So once I was done with the numbers, I used some matte multimedia and I used some acrylic blocks, and it works really good, so that's quite cool. And eventually I did realize that I was using a lot of Strathmore Bristol, so I went for a cheaper watercolor paper, but use whatever you have really. So then I went on to creating the milk cartons. So I bought on eBay some thick cardstock, which I think is 240 GSM. I don't know what GSM is. It's the the unit of measure that we have here in the UK, but I think it's LBS for the US. I'm not quite sure, but it's thick cardstock anyway. And I used my normal glue. Bear in mind that a few days later, I felt so betrayed by my glue. It started to fall apart, and I spent so long and so much glue onto these boxes. I was really unimpressed. So I ended up ordering some extra strong clear double-sided tape that I found on eBay as well. Sorry. And I thought that is much better, and I mean it's only been 2 or 3 days that I finished the project, but so far it seems that it's sticking together. So if you do decide to do something like that with some thick cardstock, and I do say thick because with normal cardstock I haven't really had that problem, but with thick cardstock do use really strong tape, otherwise it might fall apart and then it's time wasted and it's a bit of a shame really. So for this milk carton I use that dies from a brand called Crealies, and I mentioned it in a whole video, and I believe I'm not quite sure. I want to say Dutch, but it's probably not Dutch. From the Netherlands, I think. And it's a brand I discovered just like that. It's a coincidence on eBay, really. And it's a really good brand. It turned out to be a really good brand. It cuts really well. I don't get a lot of extra little pieces of paper or cardstock. Sometimes when you cut with the dies, you get extra little pieces. I didn't get that, so I was really pleased. I didn't have to trim any of the die cuts and stuff like that. So it's really good die. And I've bought 3 different ones, but I've only used 2 of them, and I'm actually really happy with them, so it's quite cool. If you are in Europe, you may want to have a look at that brand, and they have a bunch of boxes. They have pillow boxes and cake boxes and little, little paper, not paper bag, but like little bag type, purse almost type boxes. It's hard to explain, but just have a look online. It's quite cool. I thought that brand was quite cool, and it's really affordable as well. So once I was done with all the boxes, actually all the green boxes, because I had to reorder some cardstock halfway through, because I decided to do green and red boxes, as you can see on the photo. So I started with the green because you know, when you order things online and you've never used them, you're kind of like, is it going to be good or not? Am I going to spend 15 quid of cardstock? It sounds crazy when I say it, but it looks really nice on the shelf, don't get me wrong. But I started with the green, and then I looked if I was happy with the cardstock, and then I was, so I ordered some red. So I kind of broke down that project into two bits, really. I did, or maybe even three. I did the numbers and the circles, then I did the green boxes, and then I did the red boxes. So for the green boxes, I used the Lawn Fawn stamp set called Sweet Christmas. And you've seen me, I used my homemade stamping tool to stamp repeatedly on a whole page of A4 of Nina Solar White, and I stamped with some Memento Tuxedo Black, and you know, as always, Copic resistant works really well. And I did my little copy coloring, and I reached, like, I don't know, I think I was at the second line, and I was thinking, I am absolutely crazy, that's far too much coloring, and it's a bit boring in the sense that it's very repetitive. I think I did 7 lines on that page, or 6, I can't remember. It was a bit long, I'm not gonna lie, it was a bit, but you know, when you reach the end and you look at the shelf and it's all consistent, if you know what I mean. I like that it all matches, and all the green boxes have one theme and all the red boxes have another theme, and you know, I'm a bit OCD, I suppose, but I think it looks quite nice. So anyway, basic copy coloring, 3 shades of brown for the little ginger people, and then probably 4 shades of green for the tree, because I like adding a bit of depth, and then 3 shades of red, and 3 shades, no, 2 shades of grey for the candy cane and the sweet, and then I use the dye. And I don't have a lot of dyes that match my stamp set, but I have that one, and it was really handy for that kind of project because, you know, it goes really, you know, it helps a lot. I'm not gonna fussy cut for that many boxes, it would have been crazy. So anyway, once I'm done with that, I add a little bit of gel pen, and I added some champagne on the tree, and then I gave up on that because I didn't like it too much. And in the end, I actually, you will see me, I add some Nouveau glitter drops. I don't think it's called drops like that, but it's Nouveau, and it was quite good. Same thing here. When I put the glue on the back of the circle, some of them came off afterwards, so I had to add some matte multimedium. So I don't know if it's just the, is it smooth or is it not smooth, and that's why the glue doesn't hold very well. I don't know, but use some strong, you know, quite strong double-sided tape if you do decide to do something like that. Maybe not to that extent, but if you do a few boxes, even just invest in some nice glue, strong glue, because otherwise you're kind of wasting time and it's frustrating afterwards anyway. So that's, you know, that's my one of my advice. Then I realized I couldn't fit all the boxes on my camera, so I had to zoom out, so you will see a bit more. Voilà, here you go. So here I've got all 12 boxes, and I put all my little dikes, and I add a lot of glossy accents as usual, but I love glossy accents, particularly with, you know, the light, it reflects really well, and it's not very bright in England at the moment, but we have the lights indoors on because the days are quite short, so it's quite nice to have. Here's a Nouveau. I add a lot of Nouveau on the tree. It's quite nice to have the reflection of the light, and I like glossy accents anyway. You see me, I put it everywhere. So that's me adding a few actual drops. And that's it for the 12 green boxes, really. So oh, sorry, I forgot that step, of course. That's where I realized that all my boxes are falling apart, so I was not impressed. So I put some matte multimedium, and I used some post-it note at first, post-it note tape, but it wasn't holding very well, so then I used the painter's tape, which is low tack, but still it attaches a bit better than the post-it, but you know, it depends what you want to do, really. And then I use my crocodile. I don't use it as often as I wish because it's kind of an investment, the crocodile, but it's quite cool when you need it to have it. And then I just use some raffia, not sure how I think it's called raffia in English, just to tie the little boxes together once I put my little Legos in it. So here's the second part. I've started by stamping all my images. I did all the die cutting. I did all that off camera because that video was long enough. And then I start with the coloring, and then again I thought, oh my god, that's far too much coloring of the same thing. It's gonna kill me. But I think I didn't do all 24. I think I did like 24 reindeers, but in the end maybe only used 15 or 18. I can't remember. But I mean, they are so cute though. They are really cute. So I do my coloring. I use three different shades of brown and one shade of sand color, and then I can't remember. I think it's a milky white color. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I'm sure you have shades in your stash that match. And then I use two different shades of red for the little, it's not quite bells, but whatever they have around the neck. And then I started with the tree. And for the trees, I think I used four different shades of green as well, and probably the same shade than I did for the other trees, except that I tried to feather a bit more on this one, so it looks a little bit more like pine needles, but not quite. You know, it's not real, but I tried to make it look cool. So that's for the coloring, and then for the trunk, always two shades of brown, so a dark brown and an even darker brown, because technically it's under the branches, so it should be really dark, really. And then the candy cane, sorry. So for the candy cane, for this one I just did a bit of red, and I mean these little candy canes are very, very intricate, so just a little bit of red, no shading. And I actually struggled to stamp this one for once. I don't know why. I didn't have that problem before. Some of the little spaces would stay black, the ink would get stuck in the stamp. I don't know if it's because I just cleaned it, but I just used a gel pen to correct where it wasn't good, and you know, that's fine. Then I decided to put the the Nouveau, and the glossy accents beforehand, because I was still waiting for my red cardstock to be delivered. So I thought I might as well do that, and then it saves me time for later. And once that was all dry, I added some, oh, look how nice that looks, that drop. I mean, you can see it on the video as well, of course, but the glitter in the Nouveau is really nice, so that's quite cool. It did take me a while to kind of get used to that product, because I use glossy accent a lot. And it's much flatter than the Nouveau. The Nouveau is much more, much more depth to it, or relief, I'm not quite sure how to say it. Here I put some glossy accent. But I mean, you know, it's quite nice to have that glittery effect. So here I've had all my boxes, I have prepared all my numbers already, so I glue everything, put double-sided tape on the back of my little stamped images, and here I just put everything together. So I try to make it fun. The jumpy one I put at the top of the box, the other ones at the bottom, and you know, try to mix and match a bit, so it, you know, they're all not all the same, but still, you know, still that consistency thing going around. And really, yeah, here my tree, a bit of tree, and you kind of like, trying to find the best place for it. I keep talking, sorry. Should really have put a musical background on that one. Anyway, that's the end of it. So I have briefly filmed my shelf afterward. You will see that in a minute, and my ability to film while moving are not very good, so I hope you don't get seasick when you watch that. It's quite nice, you know. It takes a lot of space. I have long shelves, but it takes a lot of space. But it's quite nice, and my son was like, "Can I open it already?" I was like, "No, you have to wait for the 1st of December." So here's the video. So it's quite nice. They're not all closed, obviously, because I haven't bought the chocolate coins yet, but I will soon. And I just had a thought that just happened now. If you did do something like that, you could actually cut a little thing at the front, and someone could use that as a money thing, you know, put a little coins and stuff throughout the month of December. So I hope you find it interesting. Thank you very much for watching. I know it was long, but thank you very much for watching. And if you do want to see the photo, please head over to my blog, and have a great day. Bye!